Trust me, you don't want me to try to hit the target. But you do want to see this morning's cover story. As Lee Cowan will show us, this is an archer who's definitely aiming high.
You're looking at one of the top-ranked archers in the country, 36-year-old Matt Stutzman of Fairfield, Iowa.
The last time we looked into it, 1% of archers in the world make a living shooting a bow.
He's not bragging, he's really just that good. And he has the accolades to prove it.
January of 2010 is when I decided to be the best archer in the world. And by 2011, I had already made the U.S. team. And by 2012, I went to my first games.
And won them.
And won a silver, right?
And he did it all with his feet. Yep, one of the most celebrated archers in the world was born without arms.
When it first started, it was like, look at this guy without arms. And now it's like, ugh, Matt's here.
His competitors have learned to fear him. Not only those at the Paralympic Games in London, where he won his silver medal, but also able-bodied archers that he's bested time and time again.
Wow.
So that was like my first...
Number one in the world.
Number one in the world.
So, just how does he do it?
Because you basically just had to figure this all out. There's no manual for this.
No. And
his only adaptation is a strap around his chest, which he uses to pull the bowstring back.
And at this point, I'm adjusting my strap to make sure it's in the same place. That way, when I draw the bow back, I push my leg away from my chest. I bring my right shoulder up and I set it. Bring my face under my release. And then I shoot.
That's so amazing.
If I can take a bow that's not modified for me and I can compete against people that have arms and beat them at their own sport, well then what's everybody else's excuse? This is where I come back for the tiebreaker.
Matt's pretty easy to spot at a tournament. He's usually the only one sitting down. He knows he's the center of attention, and believe it or not, he actually likes it that way.
For me, I'm used to being looked at all the time, right? For most archers who are able-bodied have never had that experience, so when it's time to make it count, then they get nervous, where I don't get the nervousness like they do. Because I've been in this situation my whole life.
In case you can't tell already, this single father of 3 certainly doesn't consider himself disabled at all.
Are there times, though, that you just wish you had arms?
No.
Really?
Not once. No.
Now, you might find that surprising, but he's serious. When we went out to lunch, eating with his feet was as ordinary as anything.
Right.
To him.
I can hold my fork, and I just stab and dunk and eat.
Back at his house, we watched him change a tire. It was pretty hard not to offer help, but the fact was, he really didn't need it.
I call this a unicorn.
Why?
He is a car nut. He always has been.
It's a Nissan with the new Corvette engine in it.
He can outdrive just about anyone. Yep, with his feet.
So right now, my right foot is on the steering wheel, and my left foot runs the gas and the brake.
And none of this is modified for you?
Nope. This is completely just like anybody can drive this car.
Well, not exactly, at least not the way he drives it, doing donuts in a parking lot and all.
I even have a motorcycle permit.
Are you serious?
Absolutely. I can legally ride an unmodified motorcycle with my friends.
It all started right after Matt was born, when his birth parents learned something had gone wrong.
Based on what the doctors told them, that was too much for them.
They were just overwhelmed.
They were just overwhelmed.
So they put Matt up for adoption. He was just 2 months old. And not long after that, Jean and Leon Stutzman entered his life.
So do you remember the first time you saw him?
Oh, yes. Well, here was this little curly-head, blonde-head guy, and he just kind of sat up and like, well, here I am.
And so we picked up the little guy, and he was just a cute little stinker. Fell in love immediately, I guess.
They raised him along with their 7 other children, just like any other kid.
Were there times when you'd see him doing something like riding a motorcycle or something, and you'd just look out the window and say, oh my God, how?
Please protect him.
That's when he went into double prayer time.
They gave Matt prosthetic limbs at one point, but They sat on his shelf most of the time, so they decided not to really modify anything in their home.
We decided not to do anything just because he's not going to live in a handicapped world. He's going to live in a world where people expect he has to adapt to those kind of things. And so that's kind of the way our philosophy that we took is to figure it out.
I don't think it was an orchestrated thing. It was just kind of, he'll find his way. He'll figure it out.
And he did. But as Matt got older, despite his abilities and his willingness to try anything, there weren't many willing to give him a try.
Couldn't find a job.
No one would give you a chance?
No. Like, I even went to try to do a typing job because I was that desperate to try to figure out something.
So what was your mindset at that point?
I was pretty depressed, you know?
Yeah.
Supposed to be a man taking care of your kids, and nobody would give me a chance to prove myself.
It was 2009, at the height of the financial crisis. But it also happened to be deer season in Iowa. He thought if he could just teach himself how to shoot a bow, maybe he could at least bag a deer and feed his family.
I went up and bought the cheapest bow I could find. And I actually went out that year and shot a deer. I'm now excited about life again because I had just set a goal, went out, and accomplished putting food on the table.
To earn a little extra cash, he started entering target shooting competitions, where one bowmaker actually asked to sponsor him. Pretty exciting, right? It was, until a friend of Matt's told him why.
And he goes, Matt, the reason why they sponsor you is because you have no arms and you draw attention to their product, and it's not because you're good.
Wow.
The reality was I wasn't that good. And I didn't want to be known as like the sideshow or the guy who gets stuff because he had no arms. I wanted to be known as the best archer in the world.
That's where it clicked.
And that's where it clicked for me. I'm like, hey, I'm going to prove everybody wrong. I'm going to show them that I am the best and that I deserve sponsorship because I'm the best, not because I'm unique or different.
Matt's aiming for a spot at the 2020 Paralympic Games in Tokyo next summer. And while he says a gold would sure be nice, that's not all he's after anymore.
I started archery just to provide for my family, right? So, but now I've seen it's much bigger. So when someone with a disability comes up to me saying they saw me do this or that, and now they can do that, then it makes me feel good about myself.
Yeah, that must be really
It's like the feeling is, it's almost better than winning. Like, what is defining of the best archer in the world? The best archer in the world is somebody who changes the sport, makes it better, or changes people that watch make them better. In my mind, that's considered the best archer in the world.